guys, it's TechRain here and welcome back to another video. Today we're doing a $500 PC build. That is right. If you guys did not know, we just hit recently 2,000 subscribers, so thank you guys again for helping me reach this goal. I guess we'll try to hit like 3,000 subscribers by the end of the year, but I'm very much appreciative of all the support you've been showing me this year. It's actually been pretty insane. So to celebrate, we're doing a $500 PC build on a budget, and let's go over the specs. For our CPU, we're going with the Ryzen 5 1600. That is right. This is an older CPU. However, we got this off Facebook Marketplace for $20. And you can find these around eBay for like less than $30. So if this performs as good as I anticipate and it costs just as good, then the price of performance will actually be ridiculous. For the GPU, we're going with the 2060 RTX. That is right. This is a single fan GPU from ASUS. But honestly, it's going to be a really good GPU for gaming purely overall. And I'm actually very looking forward to building with this because we actually got this off of Facebook for less than, what is it, $160? So like you can find this around less than even that, than $150, but you got to find the right vendor. For me, we just went with this one. And yeah, I'm looking forward to building this. For our motherboard, we're going with the Gigabyte B450M. This is actually a Wi-Fi included motherboard, which does support Ryzen and also the newer series CPU. This is actually the last platform that will support the Ryzen 1000 series. So this is definitely going to be working for what we want to do, and I'm looking forward to building with this. For our CPU cooler, we're going to go with the the one that comes with the Ryzen series CPUs. However, pause for a sec, future GMAN here. We actually went with a different cooler because of the fact that this cooler was a bit sus to install and I didn't honestly feel comfortable with this. So instead we went with the Deep Cool Cooler 400 because that one's way simpler to install, and honestly it's only $35, so we went with that instead. For storage, we got the Samsung 980 SSD. This is an M.2 SSD that we actually got for Prime Day, and it's still on sale for a really insane deal of, what is it, $38 right now. And that's what I got mine for, but right now it's kind of out of stock on Amazon, so if it does come back in stock, I of course have a link for it down below, that way you can snack it for yourself. For RAM, we're going with the 16GB 6 from Corsair Vengeance. Now keep in mind, this is a DDR4 2400. You can of course get better sticks for a little bit more than $20 for, was it, 3600. Since we're using a Ryzen CPU, I would have usually gone for higher speed frequencies, but keep in mind that I had this on hand, so I just decided to use it anyways. For power supply, we're going with a 700 watt from Thermaltake. This is actually the white edition, which is 80 plus, and it actually only costs us $55. I've been using these for a few PC builds recently, and I've had no problem with them whatsoever, so we'll get these another one. For the case, we're going with the Lee & Lee 205 mesh. That is right, this is a micro ATX mini tower case that we actually got at Micro Center for a really good deal of $65. I did a full review video on this, and I'm finally excited to say we're gonna finally install the parts that we got for this PC build. Now that we went over the main specs, let's go over some other stuff you might want to get. First of all, a 120mm fan from Deep Cool. This actually is an RGB fan that cost us only $20. And the reason why we got this here today was because this case has two 140mm fans in the front that are RGB. However, their intake, there's no exhaust fan on the top or back. So you're gonna probably have to get yourself another fan. And I've actually heard some people saying you can't actually use the 140mm on the back to actually use an exhaust, like one intake, one exhaust. I'll test out to see if that's true or not during this build here today and let you know later, but we got this just in case. Next, we got cable extensions. If you guys did not know, we got this at Micro Center for $30, and the reason why we got this was because of the fact that our power supply has ketchup and mustard at the end. So if you don't want that, then you can get this. This actually has ourselves a 24-pin cable for our motherboard. It has two PCIe pins, one for your CPU and then one for like overclocking if you're into that. And of course, two 4 pins for an 8-pin for actually your GPU. So if you do have a 3 8-pins, you're gonna probably need more than that for your GPU, but this will do fine for the time being. The final thing we got ourselves here before we get into the PC build is a 4TB hard drive. So if you are planning to actually get the system, this only comes with 500 gigabytes. And so if you want to actually mass storage your games and stuff like that, I would recommend you actually put the most important games you actually play the most often on the M.2, and then get this 4TB hard drive for any games you want to place on here. That way you can actually store them and not important files and all that jazz. That way you have mass storage overall for the system. And of course, all the parts of this PC build will be linked down below. Let's get into the build process. Okay, so let's get into it. First of all, we got our motherboard. Let's pull this on. Of course, it's going to come with an SSD cable for your actual SSD if you did get one with your PC. And of course, we got the motherboard in itself. Let me just pull this on out. Okay, so we're going to start our CPU now. So of course, we got a Ryzen CPU. What we want to do is first find the triangle on our motherboard. So you can see the arms pointing this way and the board pointing towards us. You can see the yellow little triangle on the corner there. So you can see that triangle right there on the motherboard. What we want to do is get our CPU. And what we want to do is identify the triangle on the CPU as well with the motherboard. So we're just going to get our CPU, get the motherboard, we know the triangle is pointing there, pull out the little lever, flip that all the way up. We want to just carefully, just lightly install our CPU and let it just sit in. So with that, our CPU is now actually good, and then we can just push the little lever down, and of course, now add enough force to just place in the CPU and spice. And then with that, our CPU is installed. Give me a second. We got ourselves a wild kitten. I got another kitten recently. His name is Summer. He's not looking at the camera. He's kind of just curious what's going on. Yeah, he's trying to get in here, hang out. Now we got our RAM. So of course we have two 8 gig sticks, which is a total of 16 gigs of memory. And what we want to do is install our RAM into our motherboard. We want to install them to the gray slots here. And what we want to do is find the tooth of our RAM and have it facing this the front way towards us. So like here's me, I'm over here, and this is us, so we're good. And that way we can actually line up our motherboard because you can see a tooth on the board, and we want to have that the RAM facing towards the CPU with the logo. So with that, we can just gently push that on in once we have it lined up. And you see our first stick of RAM is installed, and we just grab the other one and do the exact same thing. Put it face towards us and push it on in. And Summer is somehow back. With that, our RAM is installed. The next thing we're going to do is install our M.2. So what we're going to do is find the M.2 slot on our motherboard, which you can see it's facing towards us. And what we're going to do is take the M.2 screw that comes with this motherboard and uninstall it. With that, the M.2 is uninstalled, and you can just grab that, set that to the side for the time being. And what we do is grab our M.2. What we're going to do now is just push this little tooth from the bottom here with the tooth on the side. So we're going to just do that. And then once you have it pushed in from the top here, all you want to do is take one finger, push it on down. Then once you have it in place, you want to just screw it on down with the motherboard until it's in place. With that, our storage is installed, so is the RAM and CPU, and now we can install it into the case. Once you have all the cable ties removed, what we want to do now is grab our motherboard and stuff and install that. So what we need to do is grab our I/O shield from earlier and pop this on open. And what we want to do is take our I/O shield and then place it in like so, and then you should be able to just pop this on in by just pushing all four in. Remember, the circular stuff on the I/O is going to be at the bottom, so we'll just push this in. With that, you should hear it click once you push it in, just gently, ever so slightly. And with that, our I/O shield is now installed. Now the next thing you need to do is grab the stuff from the back of the case, because the case will actually come with the mounting screws and all that jazz. So you just want to open up the two clips in the back and remove the side panel and set it to the side somewhere. And you want to go in here and grab this, which is going to contain all your screws for this PC build. So you're going to see there's different mounting holes for each of the actual spots for our motherboard. So what we're going to do is take our motherboard and just place it in here like so. First of all, you want to get the I/O in. What you want to do is just like carefully line it up with that. And once you line it up, you should be able to line it with the mounting holes too. So we just want to get our stuff and let's just slightly push it on in. That you should see on the back side of your case, you'll see actually the I/O is perfectly lined up that we mounted through, and now we can actually install our screws. Okay, our motherboard's installed. Now I'm not gonna lie, this motherboard installing to this case was kind of scuffed without the pre-I/O shield, but hey, it worked. I got my screws installed, we're all good there. I want to say it was a little bit more of a challenge than I thought it would be. Okay, the next thing we want to do is take our new fan we got and actually install it. How we're gonna do that is have the logo facing pretty sure it's inwards, so that way the exhaust pulls everything out, so that way you're good to go. So I'm just gonna slap this here, make sure it's right side up. My dog just walked around the room. Then grab the screws that came with it, which are of course these ones right here. What we want to do is go on the back of our case and then find the spot. And then what you're gonna do once they start biting, you start screwing it on in a bit. With that, our case fan is installed. So we had an issue with the motherboard where there was only one fan header and then the CPU fan header. So I had to get a fan hub. Got the Silverstone one, which I'll link down below, which takes 4 or 8 inputs of fan headers. So we can plug in all the fan headers we have for this. So what we're gonna do is find this, for example, here. You have this. You want to take it like so and plug them all into this fan hub. Now, once you have all of them plugged in, you'll be good to go. Now keep in mind, for the actual deep cool fan, it actually has a 5-pin, so meaning that you need to take this 5-pin, plug into the back side, which you can see here. There's a 5 side. I'm just gonna take that, and if I face it the right way, of course, plug that in like so, which then leads to a data cable, not data cable, a power cable for hard drives, which you can just use this to power the actual the fan itself. If I can find the right one, here you go. And what you want to do is just take this like so, make sure it's flipped the right direction. So here, for example, that's the right direction. Just plug that on it. Watch me not have the right direction. No, I have the right direction. It's always just sus. This one's just like tough to do because of the fact these kind of hubs are always tight. So just add a little bit of pressure. With that, we power a deep cool fan, and it's the same thing for this, where it actually has a hard drive power, and you just same process. You just plug it in, you're good to go, which I've already done. And so you just want to connect all your fans from the PC to the hub. Okay, so you can see I already removed the brackets for the actual hard mounting thing for the M4 for the CPU. So of course you can get this backplate from it, and you know you can keep the stuff that you get with this, like this stuff right here, just right to the side. And what we want to do is go to the back side of our case. Take that mount from earlier, and then you want to see the back side here, the back plate. You want to just plug that back in like so. And what you want to do is lean this on over just ever so slightly. And the reason why we're doing this is because of the fact that you're going to notice here, if I can get this in camera, I'm going to try my best, to actually take the orange little things that came with this mount and then place them right over that. You want to do that on all 4 of the black dots. Once you have it like that though, you want to take your mount, place it right on top. Make sure that you guys see the little hubs right there. They're all kind of like lipping around like that. Get these nice long silver screws, kind of just line it up with that. And do it on all of them around. Now keep in mind though, I would just like do 2 at a time because then it makes it easier, kind of like mount it in place. With that, the mount is screwed in. We're good. Now the next thing we want to do is take our cooler, of course, and take off the actual fan that comes with it, because it actually comes with a fan, but you want to take this off so you actually can properly install it. What you do is click these slides and just pop them on out like so. With that, the fan's uninstalled. Simple as that. Now it does come with pre-applied thermal paste, and we're actually going to use this. And what we want to do is take these 2 mounts and line them up with the mounts over here, and have the logo pointed towards us, so it's pointing downward. And we'll just mount that on in there perfectly. Then when you know you have it placed in there like so, like perfectly over it, what you want to do is just start screwing on in. You're going to do the same thing a little bit on the other side too, that way you know it's good. With that though, the cooler is installed. The fan we took off earlier, and just re-plug it back in. And all we have to do is we got to slip that in like we did earlier, how I showed you guys we took it off. We do the exact same process to put it back on. So we take this, pull the thread, pull it all the way over until it bites. You can see a bit because it bought into the cooler. The same thing on the other side. Pull it. And then with that, the cooler is all back together and get installed. Not gonna lie, this is probably my favorite the cooler install just because how simple it is. And then of course we can take our 4-pin and plug it into the CPU header, which is of course on top of the motherboard. It's gonna be called CPU fan. I'm not gonna be able to show you guys because how small it is, but you get the gist. Now before we install our GPU and do anything else, what we need to do is install the main cables for the case, and then we can do the power cables for actually the PC in itself, which I'm gonna show you guys on how to do that. So first of all, we got HD audio. So this is the case audio for actually the PC. So what we want to do is plug this HD audio into the one where it says F audio, which I'm going to zoom in on that for you guys. So I'll just pause the frame for a second here. So you can see that one says F audio. And you want to take this, make sure the HD audio is pointing towards yourself. I'm going to just plug that in like so, and that way you're good to go there. With that, when it's pushed all the way down, it'll be installed and good to go. And you can usually tell too because it's rainbow color for the audio. Now, both of these front panel fans will of course have 2 actual audio RGB things, and what you need to do is plug these into the DLED1, and there will also be another one up top where it's called DLED2. If it's, let me show you right there. So I'm going to point at it so you can see where it says DLED audio 2. You're literally going to take this, plug one of them there, and then grab the other one you have for the other fan, and you want to just plug it into the other spot. And just ignore my dog. My dog is being a bit of a sussy baka right now. He wants attention. Next, you need to plug in your USB 3 cable for your actual PC, so that way your headers on top can actually be supported and powered on. You need to take this USB 3 blue cable, and you tell because of that, and plug it into the USB 3 port on your PC. And of course, it's so blatantly obvious that there's no way you can mess this up. So you just take that, line it on up properly, and push it on in. With that, we're good to go. Next is the front panel header. So this is for like your power button and all other jazz. So keep in mind, I was noticing that usually when you get this kind of front panel header, there's like 4 or 5 of them depending on the situation. But for this PC case, it only comes 1. What you need to do is take this, front panel one, and plug it into where it says reset, LED, HD, all that jazz. You can tell by it being the white one right here. It's kind of weird to tell. It's like this side, not that side. You want to just take this, make sure it's facing front panel is upward, and then make sure the word's facing upward, and you can just push that on in. And with that, our front panel audio is all, not front panel audio, front panel power button stuff will all be all good to go there. This is a 2-slot card, so we just need to remove 2 slots from the side. So, and I cannot open that by just twisting. I have to like screw this a little bit. I'll actually unlock it, so it's good. Cool. With that though, we take these two, plop them on out. So we take these 2 little mounts, remove them like so. Well, that was really simple. And then if we grab our GPU, but before we install our GPU, you need to make sure to pop this. So, it actually is already popped, but usually there's a little lever here. I can't really show you like that, so I'll show you like this. The lever here, we want to install it into top mount. You want to just push that down, so you see push down our way. And we want to just take our GPU, grab it like so, line up the 16 slot. Then what we're going to do is pop it in the back first to make sure it lines up with, of course, the back here, which is good. And we line it inward too, and then you should just hear it kind of just click in the thing. I'm also just realizing too, they have the slot weird because it's supposed to go to the top one, but it goes one more down. So I guess because this is on an ETX case, that's my only assumption at least. But it's something weird, I don't know. Okay, I would say that was definitely strange. For some reason you have to push the 3rd slot out to actually install a 2-slot GPU. I don't know why that's like that. I thought it was gonna be like the top slot and bottom slot, but no, it's slot 2 and slot 3. You actually install a GPU for this one. And with that, our GPU is now installed into our motherboard. Okay, so we got a thermal-take power supply. Now before I actually start like installing this and all that jazz, we are gonna set up all the extension cables that we need for this PC, so that way we can have a cleaner look with some black instead of this, you know, ketchup and mustard. I got some of the cable extensions done. I'm not gonna go over like every single one of them right now, but I kinda wanna give you a general summary. So we got the cable extension. You can see this is the plug, and this is the end of it. We're gonna find ourselves the pin for our PCIe, so it's gonna be, it's this one if I'm not mistaken, if I can unravel it, that is. Yeah, it's this one. So this is PCIe for our GPU, so we're gonna take this extension, just place it on top, and with that, the extension is added, and you can see it looks pretty good, but I'm gonna have to set up more of that, but it's gonna take me a bit, so I'm not gonna show that process. But first, what we'll do, we can actually do this now, is install the actual power supply. And what we're gonna do is have the fan when we install it facing downwards. So what I'm gonna do, it's gonna flip this like so. Fan's facing downward, and we're gonna just slap that on in here like so, and sit like there. And then what we're gonna do is grab 4 screws, and we wanna push the back of it in to us. If I can grab it, that is. Which cables are going on? Live the screws to the mount, and screw it on in. With that though, our power supply is installed to the case. Now we just need to start plugging everything on in. Now that we got everything in the PC, let's go over the cables we need to install. First of all, we'll go over the main cables. For the GPU, you want to take your PCIe cable, and you want to plug this into the PCIe pin slot here. So this is of course going to be a 4-pin, but if you have multiple, you're going to plug more than just 4 pins into it. And of course, make sure they're grouped up together, because sometimes when they're grouped up, it doesn't plug in properly. And with that, you just push that in. The little lever on top will snap, and then you're good to go. Then for the 24 pin, what you want to do is take this and plug it into the 24 pin slot right here, and that way you're all good to go there. You should hear it click like the other one. Now for CPU cable, you're of course gonna have to run it through the top here, but you can see there's a CPU header right here. It's kind of hard to see because like this one's probably the most painful to do, but you can see right there, I'll zoom in too, there's a 8-pin right there, and that's for the CPU. We call it like CPU power or something like that. And what you're gonna do is take your CPU cable that comes with your motherboard, and you just plug that into there. And honestly, this is gonna suck because this one you have to twist it in and push it in, and then once you get, you'll hear it click. Okay, this should just work. I got the GPU, I got the monitor, everything's good. All we need to do now is like plug this on in, turn on the monitor, and see if we get any signal. This is gonna be the moment of truth. Will this just work? Turning on for the first time. It's got RGB. Ooh. Ooh. Hold up, it's gonna be a second. Let's go! Let's go! I spent 4 hours on this, but it's only took 10 minutes for you guys. The next thing we need to do is install Windows on your PC. So this is a Windows 10 flash drive. So what we're gonna do is take this flash drive that has Windows installed. Of course, have our PC turned off, plug that on in. All the animals are in this room. Then what we do, as soon as we turn this on, it's gonna say, you wanna install Windows. Okay, we're good. I thought, honestly, for a second there, it wasn't gonna load properly because the CPU might have been bad, but nah, just I had to do a system reset for something. I'm not entirely sure what I did though, to be honest with you guys. But that's besides the point. Let's set up Windows, and then after that, what we're gonna do is teach you guys how to set up turn on XMP or set the RAM speed in your BIOS on this motherboard, on a Gigabyte motherboard. So let's get through this. Okay, Windows is installed. So now, if we want to actually set the RAM speed of our frequency in actually our computer, what we want to do is right-click on our dashboard, go to Reset on Windows, and when we're resetting, what we want to do is click the Delete key on our keyboard and just spam that in. So just keep clicking the Delete key. What this is going to do is allow us to go into the BIOS of our computer to change the RAM speed for Gigabyte. And this is the same thing for like any PC, so if you want to do this, go for it. But you might not have cute little kittens like I do for this. So yeah, the BIOS has been reset. You can reset your config. So if you need to, we're just going to click OK. And now in here you see System and some other stuff. So what we're going to do is go under Advanced Memory Settings. It's in here. We should be able to see our PC. You see Auto, and then it says XMP disabled. All we have to do is double tap on it. If the kitten's not in the way, I could show you guys. Yes, summer. You get out of the way and click Profile 1. And with that, our RAM speed is now running at the set frequency. And now if we exit and save, we should be all good to go. So we're just gonna click exit with save setup. And we're just double tap that, click confirm, and then it's gonna reset into XMP. And then with that, our RAM speed should be in Task Manager 2,400 instead of it being 2,133 megahertz. Yeah, that's what it should be. On our computer, you see we're now in Task Manager. If we look up more, go to Performance, go under our RAM. It now says 2,400 megahertz, so our memory frequency with XMP is now on. And now we set a RAM speed, so we're perfectly good there. And of course, I'll zoom in for you guys so you can actually see as well. Now we get the fun part to test some games on it. So I originally tested Apex Legends. However, I ran into a little dilemma while testing another game beforehand. Some reason one of the sticks of RAM died I have for this PC, even though I have like two things of this kit, so like 16 gigs, 2,400, they're all the same. In all fairness, the only thing with it was the previous kit actually just died. So talk about very unfortunate timing. Anyways though, let's go back over the settings for this and go over this again. So this is all on high settings. Actually, yeah, you can leave that disable VSync and all that jazz. I don't really need to mess with anything else, but you can see everything's pretty much cranked up. And then if we were to actually just show you guys just a little bit of what this can do, you can actually see we're kind of starting to drop, and you can see where it gets to that 118 to 100 frames of FPS. Now, this is definitely very much playable with the Ryzen CPU, the 1600 plus the 2060 for this PC build. Like, you cannot tell me does not look good and does not feel good to play on. I did have to adjust my settings a little bit earlier though, because like when you build a new PC and play Apex, it like really scuffs up all your settings. But like, this is very good nonetheless now. Now, if you were to optimize your settings for this game, you can actually get a lot more FPS. So I'm gonna show you how to do that. So we're gonna just go to video. We're gonna disable ragdoll. We're actually gonna make that off, and then we're gonna disable the effects to low. Then disable everything here. Spotted shadows disable, low, ambient. We want to set that to disable. Then you can leave the 16 and like this 6 gigs of VRAM. It's fine, and pretty much everything else is the same. So you can also increase the FOV too if you want to, but for the time being, we're just gonna leave this on 90 to kind of give a demonstration of like what it was like with 90, because it was 90 previously. And you can see we're already increasing to like another 20 to 30 FPS. So like this is pretty good. And you know, honestly, this is way more than playable to play in a high FPS game, and your game still looks good in the process. We kind of just disabled all the other effects that may cause a lot of stutters and frame drops and stuff like that. So yeah, this is definitely way more than playable with Apex Legends. The next game we're testing is Rust. You know what? Now Rust is more of a CPU demanding game than a GPU demanding game, but having a little bit of both can really complement your setup. And you can see like this is pretty good in itself to play Rust on. Like this is 100% playable, like probably even more than 100%, I'd say. And we're averaging above
60 FPS. We aren't dropping. However, you want to like optimize this and like drop pretty much all of it down. You could probably get a lot more from this. Let's just do this for example here. Let's drop most of this besides like the basic render stuff, and then we should be able to see how it looks. So with that, we're getting another like 5 FPS. It isn't like honestly anything insane for us, but like just being able to play Rust with this PC, getting over 80 FPS with low settings, and then being able to crank it up to get still like 70 something is pretty good. And like you gotta keep in mind that servers are usually limited. They limit the FPS for Rust, so like, hey man, you cannot tell me this is not playable. You know, also see much of our RAM's actually in use too. I just realized it's like over 15 gigabytes for Rust. It's actually insane. It really goes to show you this is a CPU demanding game. Okay, the next game we're testing is Overwatch 2. I kind of wanted to say Overwatch because pretty much it's the exact same game, but that's besides the point though. I actually cranked up the settings to the absolute max. You see my FPS is pretty much maxed out, VSync off, all that jazz. And of course the quality is on high right now. So right now we're averaging around over 170 FPS on minimum, and then at highs are hitting like 200 and stuff like that. And if we start staying, we'll of course hit like 220, no problem. But the specs are doing pretty good. CPU's not really overloaded, GPU's doing really well, and our temps seem to be pretty fine. I'm not gonna lie, I'm playing with a bunch of bots because my teammates aren't particularly the best. And I'm not playing my normal main, I'm just playing DPS for jokes because like I'm not really gonna stay too long in this game. But you can see right now, just this alone is very much playable, and you can definitely do a lot with this. And of course, if I was playing my tank, I smack people around, so I'd say Overwatch is playable. So let's try some Fortnite. Okay, the next game we're testing is Fortnite. So I have all the settings just on recommended because it just automatically did it. I set the FPS to unlimited, refresh rates disabled, all that jazz, and you can see everything else is kind of just on these settings. There isn't really anything fancy to it. Pretty much everything's kind of like low and high. This is actually my normal setting, so actually I'll turn off most of the stuff to like just high for the time being to kind of give you a general summary. Would look, because usually I just don't really mess with my settings too much, and I have usually everything on low, so we're just gonna apply this for the time being. So with this, we're going to be dropping a lot of frames, but this is kind of with like how high settings would look on Fortnite. Now I'm gonna be honest with you guys. High settings on Fortnite, the Fortnite has been much more of getting better at becoming a nice looking game, and I will give them props to that. And you can tell because my FPS is absolutely dying when I turn out high with this PC setup. Now, like, is it impossible to play on? Absolutely not. Now, once you start landing, you'll be fine, because the whole thing with this, when you drop in, is loading a lot of chunks at a certain given point. So you can see my FPS now is going to start stabilizing around 60 FPS. So that's a good thing. And when we touch the ground here, you can actually see we're now averaging a normal like 70 to 65 FPS. We are dipping here and there, but like it's just stabilizing right now. Fortnite's one of those games where I don't know why. When you load the game for the first time, it always seems to act weird. No matter what the setup, it just acts silly, and I'm not entirely sure why it does that completely, but it's one of those things that are just kind of strange, to say the very least. But you can definitely tell this looks very, very good for Fortnite with just like 70 FPS. And then of course, if I was to actually optimize my settings for this game, like I would tell you guys earlier, I would do the following. I set post-processing to low, effects to low, I set textures to high, view distance to epic, and then I disable pretty much everything else, shadows to low, and then I pretty much just go with this. This is like this is what I would recommend you do, and there really isn't anything else to it, and you just apply that. You're gonna see we're average way more than 70 FPS just from that alone. So it's gonna just start optimizing, you can start stabilizing, and you can see we're now averaging over 80 to 90 FPS, and this still looks very, very good. So like, yo, never play Fortnite on high settings, because honestly, at a certain point you won't notice a difference unless you're like somebody who's really into making cinematic things for like Fortnite trailers and stuff like that, because I know none of you guys are doing that. All you guys are trying to do is a game and catch a fat dub. But yeah, this is very good now. This is way more than playable. I'm not gonna lie, that guy gave me a jump scare. I ain't gonna cap. I was not ready for that. A big fight in front. Okay, that's when I tell you I'm just not gonna I don't know how I whiffed that hard. I ain't gonna cap. The only thing I do when you get this system is upgrade 2 things. The first thing I would change. What the hell's hit me? It's like I think. The first thing I change is first of all upgrade your GPU, because like the 2060 is good, right? But honestly, if you're gonna go for 3060 and spend like $100, that's the only thing I would change. I would just upgrade to that, because why not? This kid gonna jump on the roof. That was the first thing I do. Get a 3060 and then upgrade your CPU later if you want to. That or go with a different CPU. I plan to do a different build a little bit later with this machine with most of the components besides the CPU and GPU. I'm changing those because I'm building my friend's PC. Because my friend is using a gaming laptop from 5 years ago, and I will definitely tell you, it is not good. So I plan to actually change that for him. So expect a video on that coming out later. That won't be for like a little while. This kid is like definitely behind me, right? Oh, what the frick? I just got clapped. Oh my god. Well, I definitely say Fortnite is playable. I just got absolutely obliterated right there by that fire dragon burst sniper. But okay. Yeah, Fortnite's good though. Okay, so last game I want to test is Cyberpunk on this PC, which I have not touched this since the game came out. Which we could all tell from when it was first released, it was a really, really bad experience. But this is how the game kind of looks like on this PC, this system. It's running pretty good. Now keep in mind, I'm pretty sure I have this on the highest settings possible, if I remember fairly correctly. Yeah, graphics, high quality. Yeah, pretty much everything on this is maxed out. Yeah, this is all high. So like, there's really not much to be said. And Cyberpunk's a really demanding game, so just keep this in consideration. I did run COD a little bit earlier, but honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like all the COD games recently have been kind of like doo-doo, and the optimization has been particularly best, like when I played it. All you really need to know, I got no frames somehow, which should be near impossible, like the odds of that actually happening. And keep in mind, I did this on 2 different Call of Duty games too, so I'm not entirely sure what the frick just happened. But yeah, just something to keep in mind about it. But yeah, the PC game looks very, very good. And I can honestly say like this is definitely like playable. Now the only thing is I'm not really far in the game, so I don't really have access to pretty much. But I will be willing to say that yeah, this PC system turned out really good as long as you're not trying to do anything super crazy with it, like stream in game. You should be fine. But if you use this as just like pure game system, then absolutely you'll be able to do so much with this system alone, just for the performance of like $600. So yeah. Well, that was a $600 PC build on a budget. Honestly, with all the specs and stuff like that and the price we got for it, for the performance was honestly pretty freaking good. Besides Call of Duty acting weird, I'm still not entirely sure why that happened, but either way, I'm pretty satisfied with the result. What do you guys think about this PC though? Let me know in the comments down below. I did notice one thing though. For some weird reason, when you boot up the PC, you cannot change the Lee and Lee case fans with the Lee and Lee RGB software. I'm not entirely sure why they acted like that. So what I did is I figured out that you can use the Gigabyte RGB Fusion software, which I will have linked down below, that you can change the front fans to match with the deep cool fan, and whew, that looks so good. You cannot tell me otherwise. It turned out freaking nice. Besides that though, honestly, I'm very satisfied with this PC build. I don't know when we're gonna do the next PC build, because before we do a new one, I want to actually get a better mic setup, because right now I'm using a shotgun mic on top of the camera, which still has some echo in the room. So what I want to do is get a condenser wireless mic, so that way we have a receiver, and then it's also a mic in itself, and then also a transmitter, and plug it on top of the camera so we have better audio quality. So I want to do that before we do our next PC build. But if you did enjoy this PC build here today, nonetheless, make sure to smash the like button, get subscribed to miss future tech content, and I'll of course see you guys back here for that video. Tech Gran out.